We are going to review my latest crypto portfolio recommendations. But I want to start with Stellar, since I have a lot of followers who follow me regarding Stellar on the latest here. Now, as I've talked about before, this is 1 year. Look at payments per day. It was at about 200,000. Sorry, I don't think this is day. This is week. Yeah, this is per week. Sorry. 200,000 per week. And now we've jumped up to this 12 million per week. What's that? More than a 500% increase since June. And the question is why. I made video. I've been asking. I don't know why this has gone up. And I think that's important. And then there's another point I'm going to get to in a second. But it's important because, well, if this is IBM ramping up WorldWire, then we can expect this to go a lot higher, right? But if this is just some sort of spam for a pyramid scheme, then this is not valuable. So what is driving the increase in payments? Or maybe it's a bunch of micro payments for something that's nice, but it's not that valuable. It's people liking cat pictures. They're paying somebody to like cat pictures, right? It's like, oh, maybe that's a cool social network, but it's not as valuable. So what is this? Somebody knows. Somebody out there knows, but I don't. So why? Now, the other reason Stellar's price has been really just been sort of destroyed, and one of the reasons is the whole narrative regarding utility token. Nobody believes it. In 2017, for a little bit, that was the thing. It was like, if a token has a utility, then it has value. And tokens that had a use, meaning you needed it to do something, that was considered great value. Now people are valuing utility tokens at like zero. Okay. Here's the thing. So the problem that we have with Stellar right now regarding its price is the narrative, because so even if payments are going up for a great reason, a lot of investors may say, well, there's a lot of payments on the Stellar network, but they don't need lumens. Are all these payments in lumens? I'm sure they're not. I mean, that would be an interesting thing to find out. Here's what I believe, okay? Yes, a lot of value gets accrued to a token when that token is viewed as a store of value as opposed to a utility token. In other words, store of value use case is a better investment thesis than a utility token. However, if a token is used for utility, I believe that a percentage of that will be allocated as a store of value. In other words, if you're going to be using a token all the time, you're going to hold some. I just believe that's a natural result. And I think the pendulum is swung from, if it's a utility token, it's really valuable, to if it's a utility token, it has no value. I think we're going to come back a little. When that story comes back and we see that Stellar has utility, the price of Stellar, goes in the other direction. We're getting really low here. Now listen, if Stellar sucks, if all this is crap, then okay, then the price doesn't come back. But if this is a real platform that IBM is ramping up on, then, this is when you want to be buying. Now, again, another point to my, portfolio, it's not Bitcoin or Ethereum. I mean, let's get into those. Now, these are, the largest investment tokens that are a lot safer, but when you get into these smaller ones where you can get huge, if you're right, you get a huge run on these smaller ones. If you're wrong, and there's a chance you go to zero. Notice Loom I had on here is not on here. Talk about me being stupid, okay? I mean, Loom. The reason I liked Loom, if you remember hearing me saying, I love this game that's coming out, Gods Unchained. Looks like a really cool blockchain game. I thought it was being run on Loom. I don't know where the hell I came up with that. It's not. Gods Unchained is using some I don't know. It's on Ethereum. They're using, I can't remember how it works or what they're on, but they're not using the Loom network. So listen, Loom may turn out to be a decent investment. They may, they're a platform like they're trying to be EOS on top of Ethereum. May work out great. These games may take off, but I don't know any of that. Like I don't have any insight into whether these games or the things that are being built on Loom are going to be great or not. Maybe they will. Maybe Loom is great. Maybe if Gods Unchained does well, makes people believe more in Loom and it goes up. But the problem is I don't have insight on any of it. Like that's not my area of expertise. So Loom is another one. I've had some of these smaller ones where it's just like, oh shit, that's never going to work. So you got to be very careful with these small coins. Everyone's like, oh, I can make 100x, 1000x. Yeah, you can if you're right, but it's very easy to be wrong. And then once you start to be wrong and it's on no exchange, there's zero liquidity, it's at nothing. You can't get out of it. So let's talk about the kings, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, as far as what percent in your portfolio, crypto portfolio, here's the thing, the way I see it. I love Ethereum. I mean, every day, I like my saying is all roads lead to Ethereum. I mean, it's just, I think Ethereum eats the world. But that's in the long run. A lot of people don't understand that and the proof of that, if I am right, I don't know that that'll be accepted wisdom anytime soon. And, narrative prices can follow narrative. So I don't know about the short run. I still love it. Don't get me wrong, and it may run in the short run. But, Bitcoin, which I am... So the thing about Bitcoin that makes me believe it runs hard in this current bull run, and let's take a look talk about bull run, where we are here. In this current bull run, I think Bitcoin runs because it's so simple to understand. It's the gateway drug. Everybody's a beginner in crypto at this point, right? And all the new investors coming in, people are newbies. And the main value that Bitcoin brought and cryptocurrency invented is digital scarcity. Digital scarcity never used to exist. Now it does. And all Bitcoin is digital scarcity. And people can understand that. There's only 21 million. The issuance rate, the amount of new Bitcoin that gets created, is going to be cut in half again in 2020. This is going to be sort of a news event. People can understand fixed supply. The amount that is created gets cut in half. The money supply. I love Ethereum's money supply. I think in the long run is, if I had to make a bet, I like it better. Ethereum's money supply, monetary policy, better than Bitcoin's. Okay? But for people to understand Ethereum's monetary policy at this point you need to really dig deep. Bitcoin's monetary policy is simple, and all it is there's a fixed decreasing new supply, the halvening. These things are easy for people to grasp, easy for people, and it's the biggest, it's the leader, it's the oldest, it works, it only does one thing and it does it well. So it's simple. And this, the whole Satoshi Nakamoto, what a great story, right? I mean, that the founder disappears. We don't know who he is. And that also helps teach the other concept, decentralization. Well, who owns it? I was in a bar and this, some guy trying to impress me and some other people. I said, he's talking about conspiracy theories. I'm like, this guy. I'm like, what do you think of Bitcoin? He says, I know the owners. Like, boy, are you a moron, right? There's no owners. People, you wrap your head around that. It's like, there's not even a founder, right? Never mind no owners. And it's just these concepts, easy for people to grasp. So Bitcoin, newbies, new investors getting in, they're going to go to Bitcoin. The reason I put that at a high part of your crypto portfolio, and you can go to 100%. If you're not sure, you just want to have some, just buy Bitcoin, right? It's easy. Bitcoin right now is not going to zero. New York Stock Exchange is getting turned on in September, right? This is not, there's that adoption is coming to Bitcoin. And listen, maybe it doesn't go to 100,000 like I think it is. But in the next few months, And then as long as all central banks, excuse me, all central banks are printing lots of money, Bitcoin's not going to zero right now, right? And look, ECB, I don't know exactly what they're doing, but supposedly, they're going to create tons of new credit in September. So we're pretty safe to do BTC. Now, Ethereum. Ethereum, meanwhile, in the long run, BTC trying to be digital gold. That's the other meme that's so simple. People can understand. It's like gold, but it's digital. Why is it better than gold? People can understand these things. And you can value it. Well, how much is gold worth? 5 trillion, 8 trillion, depending how you measure it. Okay, so what's Bitcoin worth? It's only, right now, I don't know, is it 100 billion? 182 billion. So 200 billion, all gold worth 5 trillion. Well, this can go up. Easy to understand. So Ethereum, Ethereum's value, I think, is bigger because it's not digital gold. It's the financial system. Instead of having banks, you're going to have your wallet, your digital wallet, instead of, having, what do you call them? Derivatives at JP Morgan. The derivatives are going to be on Ethereum. Easiest way to see this is look at total value locked on Ethereum. Now, this is total value locked on crypto networks, this DeFi Pulse here, DeFiPulse.com. But it's all on Ethereum. Look at it. It's all Ethereum. And look at the growth. Why is my picture flicking? Are you seeing it flicker? It's flickering for me. I hope that's not for you. Anyways, you can see the growth here in total dollar value locked up in Ethereum from 200 million in November to currently 500 million. Nice growth rate. It's sort of flattened out because MakerDao, which is the leader, but it's come down. MakerDao used to be like 80%. So 1 year locked up. It's still good, but it's come down on the amount locked up in Maker because there's all these other options. I think that's a healthy thing that the Maker dominance is coming down. And I still like Maker. Keep in mind, MakerDao is coming out with they're upgrading their system to be multi-collateral DAI on Maker, which creates the DAI dollar peg token. You lock up Ethereum and it creates a dollar peg token, the only decentralized dollar peg token. When Maker upgrades, you'll be able to lock up many different types of collateral. This probably starts another growth phase for Maker. Now, again, this is one of these smaller. I own a little Maker. Okay. But listen, this is not Ethereum. This is one of all these that could go well. And then you've got, one of the things that's sort of taking some of the lockup value with Maker, but it complements Maker, is this compound finance. Look at this growth here. Let's look at a year. Look at it. Geez. Was that here, $13 million, $20 million in February, now $100 million locked up. This is a nice growth rate. I was at a business networking event, and I talked to a guy he's a big consultant. I don't even know exactly what he does, but he deals with big money. He's an early investor in Coinbase, or he works with Coinbase. Bottom line is this guy knows his stuff, and he was very skeptical on crypto. He's not a big crypto believer, but I was talking to him, and when I started talking about how much money is locked up in Ethereum, and I mentioned compound finance and how it went from 20 million to 100 million in in a few months, he was like, that's something. And I liked hearing that, because sometimes it's like, oh, you've got high growth rate. Like we'll talk about Kyber Network in a minute. This is another long shot that I like. And, oh, look at this growth rate, but the numbers are really tiny. And for big people, they're like, big investors are like, whatever. That's a fly. That's a mosquito on my portfolio. I don't care. The numbers are so small. But he was like, okay, these are real numbers. That's decent size. So, that's the story with Ethereum. And the other story with Ethereum, and I wonder if this, I don't know what gets the Ethereum bull running. I know that what gets the Bitcoin theory running is it's the most regulated, easy to get into, and it's simple to understand. What gets everyone getting into Ethereum? One may be all the Ethereum killers are in trouble. Right? The story before all these new smart contract platforms launching and they're going to steal from Ethereum. It ain't happening. And when that becomes clear, we see Bitcoin rally. Larry Sanger from, he does this Everpedia, which was on EOS, the first, one of the first big projects on EOS that looked like a respectable thing. It's not just a stupid gambling game. And he's just like, he's like, this can't go on longer. EOS has been captured by Chinese, what is it? The block producers is EOS is centralizing, and it's centralizing in China. Like, I don't know. Is anything interesting? And I asked him. He said, we're not leaving, but we may leave soon. And I was like, okay, fine. But, is there anything happening on EOS? And I don't hear anybody say anything like that other than stupid little gambling games. And most of these other platforms, it's just not, they can't compete against this. I'm not saying there'll be no other platforms and nothing done on other platforms. But the network effect of what is happening on Ethereum is just endless, and the more it's just so far ahead and growing the fastest. So, what was I going to say? Now, another one you'll notice I mentioned here. Another one I like is this Ren protocol. When I say I like it, so the way I do my investing is I find something, I research, I'm like, and I like it. Say, okay, great. So let's research more. So I thought Ren was interesting. I sent it to my CTO for my toy business, sex toy. In fact, sextoy.com, coupon Dave20 for 20% off all the sex toys you need. Anyways, sent it to my CTO. He checked it out. He's like, oh, it looks cool. Looks easy to run a node. And I was like, okay, so that's another piece of research that I get that positive from him, right? Sometimes I have him look into something. He's like, oh, I don't know. And it doesn't have this and it doesn't do that. Okay. This, I get positive research. So I started researching more. And every time I research, I like it even more. I'm not done researching enough to even buy any of it. Sometimes I do buy before I'm done researching, and usually it's a mistake. So I don't know. I don't want to preach too loudly about it. But something that's interesting that it does, it allows you to trade tokens between blockchains. In other words, you can trade Ethereum for Bitcoin. With decentralized, allows the interoperability between blockchains, which sounds like it cuts into the use case of Cosmos and Polkadot, which are also supposedly Ethereum killers. And Ren, if it works, of course, is being built on Ethereum. Who else is supposed to kill Ethereum? Whoever it is, I just, Ethereum is dominating. All right. So what else do we got here? Okay, so XLM we talked about. Maker. NMR, I just endlessly think is interesting. I like this business model of crowdsourcing. We've had crowdsourcing information, but what NMR has built a decentralized platform that allows you, when you do crowdsourcing information, when someone is sending, hey, here's my good idea, and they're eliminating the problem with that of people spamming good ideas, right? You spam 1,000 ideas, one of them's good, you sort of win. You can win by just throwing NMR a million good ideas. So what NMR Numerai introduced was this idea that you attach some crypto tokens, some value to your bet on what is a good idea. And then, so the amount you win, if your idea turns out to actually be good, you win more if you bet more, and if you don't bet any. So that makes it so people don't spam a million ideas in order to win having been right. And they document on the blockchain people's record of how often they're right. It's hard to explain. Looks really cool, but I don't, what is the token worth? It's very hard to get much information on how much activity is going on there. I don't have a ton of info on it. This is a total, who knows? Maybe we get lucky. Now, Kyber, I've talked about, because, the thing I got a little excited about Kyber, for those of you who watch my things would see, I'm watching the transactions per day, and all of a sudden it was here. And I think I made a video on this day here. I'm like, look at this. And then literally the next day it fell off a cliff. I shouldn't even say a cliff. I mean, if you look at where it is, it's still a lot higher than it was, 6 months ago. So it was doing 100,000 in volume per, what is this? This is day here. Yeah, per day. And now we're doing, let's say, 300, 400, 500 per day. That's a great growth rate, but not as big as it was when it was doing 4 million in a day for a minute. But it's got some nice spikes, and it's integrated with a lot of wallets and decentralized exchanges. It's sort of wherever there's exciting decentralized trading things happening, Kyber seems to be there. So I like, this is another thing. You buy a teeny bit. If it works out, the thing becomes huge. Right now, it is tiny, and again, can go to zero. And then live peer, this thing is a Web 3.0 sort of idea. It's not going to be for real for years. It's early, but you do some research on it if you like it. It's one of these things. I bought a little. You stake it. It's early, so if you stake it now, you're earning a lot of new tokens. Maybe it's video transcoding, which is a huge business. Again, it's one of these things. If it works, it goes way the fuck up. If it doesn't work, bye-bye to your money. So that's why all of these, not more than 10%, and 5 can even be enough, and hope you get lucky. But really, the long-term money is here. This, as long as the central banks are printing, these are the babies that are going up a lot. I think I don't want to start repeating myself. Do I have anything else I wanted to tell you? I think that's it. All right. Well, let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching.